TEC.
Nightly news reported by
Titan from TEC.
CPU temperatures in your PC are rising. Does your CPU get toasty? Can your CPU fry itself? And why does the starting of the video sound like 80s TV commercial? Let's find out. Not the last one, huh? Well, CPUs produce heat naturally like all other electronic devices. You need to take away the heat before it gets too hot. So you need cooling. Then you might think, I'll keep it in fridge. Well, that's not a good idea. No, don't do that. Unless you want to get rid of your old fridge or the CPU. You need a CPU cooler with appropriate TDP and fresh high quality thermal paste. You have to put the appropriate amount of thermal paste on the CPU IHS and put the CPU cooler on top of it. Don't spread the thermal paste all over the place. Then you might ask, Titan, what is TDP? TDP stands for Thermal Design Power. It simply indicates the amount of heat output by the CPU when the CPU is at turbo speeds and 100% load. If you don't know what is clock speed, I have made another video on that. Go check it out after this. The TDP of the CPU depends on how fast your CPU is and how powerful it is. Then you might ask, Titan, how can I get the appropriate cooler for my CPU? Well, you need to pair the CPU with a cooler rated for higher TDP or TDP equal to of your CPU. TDPs are usually represented in watts. Note that high TDP CPU coolers with high quality of heat pipes may cost you more, but it is possible to attain a silent configuration by pairing your CPU with a much higher TDP CPU cooler. Basically, there are two types of cooling, air cooling and liquid cooling, which is a broad topic and I will talk about it in the next video. So get subscribed and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. You might wonder, what are those pipe-like structure on the CPU cooler or the heat pipes I was talking about earlier? Well, these are heat pipes and they work similar to a vapor chamber. Both heat pipes and vapor chambers are sealed containers of a liquid which becomes gas when it gets heat and quickly becomes liquid when it goes away from the heat source, hence transferring heat. This helps in cooling, but you need a heat sink at the end to dissipate the heat into the environment. If you consider thumb as a heat sink and this is your heat source, that is CPU, then upside down position would help your CPU, horizontal position will give you 50% of the efficiency and upright position will give you 100% of the efficiency. Like the video? The final question left to answer is, can a CPU fry itself? The answer is no. Older generation CPUs had this problem of frying itself, but there are now safety features which ensure that CPU doesn't fry itself. But that doesn't mean that you have to go checking for failsafe. So make your CPU a favor of putting the right CPU cooler on top of them. Your PC may thank you.
Thank you so much, best friend!
Speaking of thank yous, I will thank you if you share the video to most of your friends and whom you think this will help.